Zuby, what's up, man? Welcome to Dad Edge, my friend.
How's it going, Larry? I'm good.
It's going good. It's kind of interesting how you and I got connected here because every year for the past 9 years I put a post out and I just say, hey, who do you guys want to hear from this year on Dad Edge? And you were one of the guys at the top of the list that the audience really wanted to hear from. So I'm excited to have this conversation, man.
Well, I'm honored. I hope it's a good one.
I know it will be a good one. So I'm excited about it. Let's do this. Let's start out with just some fun questions, just to kind of keep things going. But looking back on your childhood, what was something that you really enjoyed doing, just as a kid, like your favorite pastime?
Easy. Drawing.
Drawing. Wait,
Drawing.
and
Yep.
what kind of drawing?
Cartoons.
Nice. You still do that
Yeah. I
today?
want No, but I can. I still have the chance. I don't draw anymore, but I'm a very much above average artist in terms of drawing. I wanted to be a cartoonist actually when I was a child. Strangely enough,
Really?
as a kid, I was not interested in music, although I played although I played piano from a young age, but I didn't really listen to music. So if someone had said to 5-year-old me or 10-year-old me or even maybe 12-year-old me that I was going to grow up and become a musician, that would have sounded very strange because I was always an artist, but it was drawing by hand. And so, yeah, all day every day, inside class, outside class, I was always drawing. People used to know me for my art in that
Did you ever
sense.
get in trouble
Be-
for it in school?
no, no, no. I got in trouble once with my parents when I decided to draw on the walls of the house, but that's another story.
I've been through that a time or two. I've got four boys, so I've seen. We actually just decluttered my eight-year old's room, and we like behind the bed. There's like he had written out. I was like, What are you doing? He's like, I'm drawing my friends, and I'm like, okay, all right. Well, at least it's behind the bed.
God bless children.
That's right, man. So, well, tell me about what did your family look like growing up, as far as siblings and just your upbringing.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, as some people may or may not know, I mean, I was born in the UK.
Right.
My family background is originally from Nigeria. Both of my parents are from the Igbo tribe. I am the youngest of five children. I have two older brothers and two older sisters, and I now have five nieces and five nephews as well. My dad is from a very big family. My dad is one of 11 children, and my mom is one of seven. So I have over 50 first cousins. Or at least I did. Sadly, many have passed away. But I had over 50 first cousins. And yeah, my extended family is absolutely gigantic. So I was born in England, but I actually grew up in the Middle East. I grew up in Saudi Arabia. All of my earliest memories begin there. I was in school there from kindergarten up until fifth grade. And then at the age of 11, I went to boarding school in the UK. So between 11 and 20, I was just back and forth between the two countries multiple times a year. I was traveling internationally by myself from the age of 11, which might sound crazy to some people, but for me, it was just normal. So 7 years of boarding school, 3 years of university, graduated from university when I was 20, and yeah, been on quite the adventure ever since then.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. My wife and I were just having a conversation, and I'm going to ask you this question. I'm really curious about. So my 8-year-old, he is the youngest of four brothers. So he is. We always say he's like he's like the softest voice in the entire room. All of his older brothers, everybody in this house, they're bigger than him. They're louder than him. All these things, right? He's probably like, does anyone even hear me? Right now, you grew up with four older siblings, and then like your dad came from 11 kids. Your mom came from seven. Lots of first cousins, 50. Like, did you feel that way as a kid? Like, man, does anybody even hear me in this house?
No.
No, just no. No, I was loud, Larry. Come on now. So,
No,
all right.
you know
So
what?
explain.
I wasn't loud actually. I used to be surprisingly shy as a child. So I think anyone who would have known me from maybe under the age of about 13 or 14 would be quite surprised by a lot of the stuff that I've been doing over the past 17 or 18 years at this point
Hmm.
because I was always a shy kid. I was always a shy kid. I had a lot of friends. I was decently popular. I was involved in a lot of different sports and activities and things like that. But until I think going to boarding school took me out of my shell a lot more. I think when I was in school in Saudi Arabia, I had a lot of friends, but I was quite shy, somewhat lacking in self confidence, if I'm being honest. And then going to boarding school, I mean, I was forced to grow up early in some ways because my parents were thousands of miles away from me. I'm just there in a school. First, I went to an all boys school for 2 years. So it's just hundreds of boys between the ages of 7 and 12, most of them from foreign countries from all over the world. And you're all just sort of jam packed in there day and night. And you have to fend for yourself to some degree. And then another 5 years at a mixed boarding school. But even in my mixed boarding school, it was actually like 3 boys to 1 girl, which had an interesting dynamic.
Everybody's fighting over these girls.
Oh my gosh, dude, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was actually, I look back in hindsight. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it was terrible. But I mean, it was a fantastic school. I've got a lot of, I made a lot of great friends there. Went through my sort of teenage formative years during that time. And I think actually it gave me quite a lot of advantages that I can look back on in hindsight now as an adult. Even something as simple as like the travel thing. I mean, people see that I travel all the time and I'm always in airports and on planes and I'm going here and there and zooming around. People are like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do that. Or I meet people who are even, 30 plus years old and they've never been on a plane, or they're afraid to go on a plane, or they're just afraid of travel. They're kind of afraid of what's not familiar to them. The thought of getting on a plane and zooming off to, it might even be the other side of the country, but certainly outside the country, it scares them. Whereas for me, it's just like, man, I've been doing that since I was a little child. I've been doing it by myself since I was 11 years old. So I don't have some of those sort of fears and hangups and limitations and things like that actually I think are quite natural for people to have. And I think that serves me well because, and then I guess you compound this with, I mean, I used to sell my CDs on the street. I've sold over 30,000 albums hand to hand in the UK. And you can imagine how many people, you have to talk to sell 30,000 albums, as a one-man army. So I have quite literally met hundreds of thousands of people. I've spoken to over 500,000 people. And so I also have the capability that I've learned over the past 18 years at this point to be able to speak to and relate to pretty much anybody and everybody, regardless of their age, their background, their sex, their worldview, whatever it is. It doesn't matter where I am. And so I guess ultimately I'm a communicator. I mean, I still make music. I'm still a rapper. But the through line through all the things that I do is that I'm an artist and I'm a communicator. And my communication skills have just been honed through all of these experiences to the point where people are, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I'm sometimes intimidated and humbled by how many people care about what I have to say. Like, I think it's quite strange how over the past 5 years in particular, especially from 2019, I've essentially managed to grow an audience of a couple million people by just sharing my thoughts and my ideas on social media, on podcasts, on stages, on television, through my music. And that's quite fascinating. It's weird because, I don't know, I guess people find me interesting, but I guess it's weird to find yourself interesting, right? Like, I don't find myself, I'm with my own thoughts all day long, right? I've been dealing with my own thoughts for, over 30 years. And so I'm not particularly like fascinated by my own thoughts, but I find that when I just share them and I put them out there, people find it interesting. People gain new perspective from it. People find inspiration, motivation. I can teach people things in various areas, whatever it is. And so, look, that's what I've always wanted to do. It's actually why I wanted to become a rapper. because I wanted to be able to use my voice to uplift, inspire, and motivate people around the world. And I still do that through my music, and I've
Right.
been able to expand it beyond that. So one of the reasons why I'm always happy is because I'm very much living in my purpose, and I think I'm living in the purpose of what God put me on this earth for. The actual translation of my name, so Zuby is a short form. My full name is Unzubechuku, and that actually translates to God's decision in the Igbo language. And I take my name seriously. So so when I say like this is my mission, this is my purpose, like
Yeah.
I've had clarity on that since my teenage years. And so I'm always joyful and I'm always motivated and I'm always inspired in a way because I've been able to craft a life where at this point I'm very much just walking in my purpose and doing what I truly believe that I was put here to do. And that keeps growing and blossoming in different ways. And Lord willing, over the next several decades, that's just going to continue growing and expanding and morphing in a way that's even more beneficial to whoever I can impact.
I got to tell you, I mean, doing my research on you, listening to your music, listening to other interviews that you've been on. I know you've got 2 books out there as well. The thing that I love about you, Zuby, is your approach. You have this calm, like I know you're a motivated individual, right? You're an inspiring individual and an individual who's living within his purpose, but you also have this very calming and magnetic sort of vibe about you that brings people in, which I think is really, really fascinating. And I'm curious, as you've shared things through your music, as you shared things about just your view of life in general, you mentioned in there that people come up to you and they say, hey, this thing or these things or whatever it is that you have said, whether it's in music or whatever, it was really, really meaningful to me. And as you look at what people have told you over the years, what are some common themes that people have shared with you that's like, man, like these things are really meaningful?
Wow. Well, thank you. Firstly, um, okay, what are the recurring themes? I would say one of them is you say you say what I think in a way that I wouldn't be able to say it.
I like that.
So a lot of people
Yeah.
feel like I articulate thoughts and feelings that they don't really have the language or confidence or courage to express in a clear and articulate way. So that's definitely a point of it. I do have say a lot of people. I do get a lot of people saying that I challenge their thinking in a good way, and that I'm a good example of how to interact with other people, particularly when it comes to disagreement or contentious topics or controversial issues or things like that. A lot of people do say something similar to what you said in that they know that I'm operating in good faith and I'm not like this. I'm not controversial for the sake of being controversial, and I don't like attack people and go after people, and I'm not nasty. So I can talk about things that are landmine issues in a way that encourages conversation rather than stoking division and hostility. And then I also have had a lot of people who, particularly with like the health and fitness stuff, who just told me that I've just helped them to take their health more seriously, right? That
Hmm.
I motivated them to get in the gym or to take a look at their diet and clean it up a little bit. Particularly during the 2020 to 2022 period, I had a lot of people who are just like, dude, thank you for keeping me sane. Thank you for speaking out about, the attacks on our freedoms and the insanity of all of this response and things like that, because people felt very isolated and disconnected from each other, perhaps more than at any other time, at least in modern history. And so during that area, yeah, a lot of people, I still get people who thank me for that period, and there are people who were like really, really sucked into it all, and then they came across some of the things that I was saying, and it forced them to be like, okay, maybe this isn't all quite making sense. Maybe I don't need to be panicking and freaking out in the way that I am. And so, yeah, that's quite a few things, but people know me from such a range of different things at this point, so it's kind of a mix. But it's beautiful, man. Like I love it, and I love meeting people. Like I'm so It's probably obvious. I mean, I'd hope it's obvious. I'm extremely people oriented. And as much as human beings can annoy me, I still very much love our species and would like us to do better and be better individually and collectively. And so I'm constantly just trying to, within my capacity, just nudge people in a more positive direction. And the last thing I'll say on this is that there's also just, there's so much negativity that exists in this world. I remember making a very conscious decision when I was 18 or 19 years old, when I started making music, that my music would always have a positive, motivating, uplifting message overall, particularly in the world of rap and hip hop, but even across other genres of music. There's just so much negativity and anger and degeneracy and violence and like perversion and all of this stuff. And number one, I mean, that's not me. But even beyond that, I was just like, I don't want to be someone who contributes to who just contributes to the negativity in the world. Sadly, it can be quite a lucrative thing to do. I could definitely, if I were not principled in the way that I am, I could definitely make more money by just by playing into people's fear and anger and hostility and division a lot more. Like it's not. I clearly see the business model. Like it's not hard to do, but I've always resisted that. I do my best to resist it. Once in a while, I'll kick the hornet's nest a little bit, but typically with reason. Not usually just because I want to like anger people. More like, okay, this is going to upset some people, but I actually think this is important to say for whatever reason. And so that's I would say that that's my overall approach.
I love that, man. And again, like I said, I've listened to your music, I've seen your videos, I've seen you on interviews. We have so many people that are on social media and they're like doing this, like yelling and it's like they're trying to make their point and there's a ton of negativity. There's even a ton of, if you really peel back the onion layers, a lot of fear, a lot of anger, and you don't have that approach, which this is why I said that I think you have more of this magnetism, more like this law of attraction, that people are pulled to you because I think this incredible approach is there. You mentioned one word early on in the podcast, and it's so timely for me, and just selfishly, but also I think the audience would glean from it as well, and that's the word confidence. My 18-year-old and I we're going back and forth right now. We're having conversations. We're actually reading a couple books together right now just to kind of get him more ready for being like an adult. And one of the things that he keeps saying to me over and over again is, I want to be more confident. So I've done almost 1,200 episodes now. I've had special operators on the podcast, Navy SEALs, and all these people have been through a lot of uncomfortable things. And I also know through discomfort, confidence emerges. And you were brought up in going flying internationally, doing things, you're in this country and then this country and this school and then that school. But for you, as you look back on your childhood and maybe it was life lessons from your parents, what really helped you with confidence?
That's a good question. I have a chapter on confidence in my upcoming book, which I'm writing.
Nice.
I think there's different ways to approach this. I think there's a baseline level. So because you brought up your son, I think there's a baseline level of self-worth and self-esteem that comes from knowing who you are and where you're from, and ideally having loving parents and a loving family. This is where I think people who are raised in strong, intact, stable families get the real privilege. I think a lot of it's not just the finances and the economics or even the love. It's also just like having a stable and secure identity of, this is who I am, this is my name, this is my last name, this is my dad, this is my mom, these are my brothers, this is my family, and they love me and they're not going to abandon me, and they want the best for me, and these are the values and principles they've taught me. And so you have multiple things that you can kind of just like hold on to even from a very young age. I think that's the beginning roots of confidence. Beyond that, particularly as you're getting into teenage years and adulthood, I think confidence is the result of competence. You hear a lot of people talking about fake it until you make it, and there are times and places where that can be useful advice, but you can't really fake true confidence. I believe that true confidence is just derived from competence. If you think of we all have realms that we are confident in and realms that we are not confident in. Okay. I've never been surfing before. I'm confident on this podcast right now as I'm talking to you. You could put me up on a stage and be like, Zuby, give a impromptu speech for 10 minutes to this crowd of people. I could do that, right? Someone could be like, hey, rap a verse for me, and I can do that. But if someone was like, oh, okay, let's go catch some waves. Here, Zuby, here's a surfboard. Or someone were to pass me the controls of a helicopter or an airport, my confidence level would be zero, because I don't have any competence in those fields. So if you want to become confident in an area, you really have to be competent in it. And so anything that it could be learning a language, it could be learning an instrument, building a business, learning a new skill, learning how to talk to people and communicate. Whatever it is, you have to go outside your comfort zone. You have to do the thing that's going to be uncomfortable to begin with. You're not going to be good at it. You're going to struggle. You might feel a little bit embarrassed and self-conscious and so on. But the more you do it, you get to a point where you're confident, right? If you've ever learned how to swim, or you've learned how to ride a bicycle, or you even learned how to walk and talk. I mean, look, man, you've got 4 kids, right? When they're learning to walk, learning to talk, they're stumbling, making mistakes, whatever the case is. But then over the course of time, they gain competence, and therefore they gain confidence. And I think that's really the key. And I think oftentimes people want to skip to confident without going through the struggle 100%. Of building competence. If I wanted to learn Mandarin, I have to accept that, man, I'm going to suck at this for quite a long time. I'm going to feel embarrassed. I'm going to make really goofy mistakes. I'm not going to be speaking it like I speak English, right? It's going to be difficult. But if I were to keep at it for 3, 5, 8, 10, I don't know however many years it would take me to assimilate the language, then I would eventually get to a point where I could go to China and I could just be speaking to people in Mandarin, and I would be very, very confident because I've done it so many times and I've spent thousands of hours doing this thing to the point that you can do it. You literally said you've done over 1,000 hours of podcasting. How can you do 1,000 hours of something and not have, you're gonna have some competence by then, and you're also gonna have a level of confidence. So I think that's it.
I love that, man. I think, to be honest, I think that is what's missing, is that it's the walk out to the cliff, right? So, and you used an example of like public speaking or speaking a language we didn't know, or surfing. You walk out to that so-called cliff and you're like, I don't really know if I want to do this. It's like, I don't want to have to suck at this, and I don't want to have to fall on my face or say the wrong thing, or like, it's all these self-defeating thoughts that we have before we go out and take a risk. But for you, I see your entire life as walking to the edge of that so-called cliff, but yet going ahead and making the jump anyway, right? And knowing that, like, oh, this might not be so comfortable on the way down, but I'm willing to go for the ride. So for you, as you walk to that proverbial cliff and where most people stop, what's gotten you to take that leap?
Yeah. I mean, I like the analogy, but I'd say I don't really feel like it's a cliff. I'd say it's more like a marathon race. Because a cliff, I mean, you just have to jump once and then gravity does the rest of the job, right? You just keep falling and you get to the bottom. I'd say it's more like a marathon where you just got to keep putting one foot. You got to keep showing up every single day. It's like the gym, right? You just got to keep, you don't go to the gym once. And, it's great to get over that hurdle. If you've never been to the gym before, it's great to get that first session. But that first session is not really going to do anything. But it might flip a switch in your brain, and then you come back the following day. Get up to 3 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever it is, and you keep that going, not for weeks, not for months, but for years. ideally for decades. And then, you get to that point where you're looking at your numbers or you're looking at your physique. Oh, wow, look, I'm now a strong person. So I think that's what it is. To answer your question directly, I don't tend to do something unless I'm willing to commit to it for at least a decade.
Really?
Yeah. Any major project. So when I started my podcast back in 2019, so in 2018, I was thinking of starting a podcast, and I was like, do I do one on music? Do I do one on fitness, on business? What should I do it on? And, eventually I decided to make it kind of open format interview. But before I started my podcast, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to be willing to commit at least a decade to this. And then it's a very conscious and serious decision of, okay, like, do I want to do this enough for that kind of commitment? Because there's no point starting it and being like, oh, let me give it 2 months, or I think most podcasts don't make it past the 4th episode, right? Most people give up after 4 episodes. And so I was just like, well, I'm not going to be that guy. Like, if I'm going to make the commitment, I'm going to do it. I had the same with my music career. I'll tell you what, I left my corporate job in 2011. I was a management consultant for a couple of years. So I quit my job when I was 24. And I remember when I was leaving, I remember how many people were like, because I'm off to become a full-time rapper. Imagine this, right? Oxford University graduate, computer science graduate,
right?
In the corporate world, clear career path. He's going to go leave to become an independent rapper, not even with a record label. And people were like, oh, like, how long are you going to give it? 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, like, how long are you? I was like, you don't get it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm not coming back to the corporate world. I'm done. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but I will succeed. I will succeed on my own as an independent, creative person, artist, entrepreneur. I will make this work. I don't have let me give it 18 months and then, I'll come crawling back and ask for my job back. I was like, no, like, I'm done. And I didn't make the decision to leave my job until I was like, all right, Zuby, like, are you going to give this at least a decade? Because it's going to take at least that long, right? It's going to take at least a decade before this really starts to bear some proper fruit. And so that's the way that I analyze it. I find that a lot of people jump in and jump out of things too much.
Yes,
and there's nothing wrong with like trying something out and seeing if you enjoy it, right? Like if I were to go surfing, it doesn't mean like I need to commit 10 years to surfing. But if I was like, okay, I actually want to learn how to do this thing. If I was like, look, I genuinely want to learn Mandarin. Not that I'm going to China and I need to learn like a couple of phrases, but no, I want to become fluent in Mandarin. That's not something that you can half-ass. You either have to be like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm willing to commit the time. This is going to take thousands of hours. And that's thousands of hours I then cannot be spending doing something else I could potentially be doing. So that's the mode that I operate on. I don't even want to belabor the point, but I don't think short term like that. I just think, okay, like if I'm going to do this, then it's like Yoda, try not, do or do not. There is no, yeah, right. It's like that. It's like, don't try, either just do it, or it's okay to also be like, oh, you know what? I have some interest in that, but I know I'm not so interested that I'm willing to commit that hard. So let me do this one instead of that one.
What's so funny is I'm going to comment on what you just said because I love it. It's relentless commitment.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the yes. It's not like, give that a try.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, I'll be back in management. But like, so my 10-year-old has never seen Star Wars. And so like, so we're going through the series right now. And we just watched episode 1 last night. And, he's like, he's talking to Obi-Wan after Obi-Wan kills, Darth Maul. And he's like, agree with you. I do not, like, you will not train the boy. Right. And my 10-year-old looks at me and goes, why does he talk backwards? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, it's like, in our family, we don't say to bed I am going. And I'm like, it's very true. We don't. Like, but I was like, but Yoda's wise, man. He's very wise. Did you wait? just you wait. He's got some good one-liners, but no, it's that relentless commitment. Like and for you, a theme that I see in your life, and one of the reasons that I think you're so successful is I'm all in. Like I'm doing this. I am all in. Even the tone of your voice when your coworkers back in 2011 be like, "So how long are you going to do this?" And you're like, "I'm done." Like it was just like the voice tone in that statement was just like, boom, fine line, done. So that's growing up though. I'm curious the family dynamics that you guys had. Your mom, your dad, two sisters, two brothers. Was this something that just like, hey, this is how we live. This is what we do. This is what our family does. Or was this something that more or less as you grew up, this was something that became more of just for you uniquely?
That's a great question. My parents taught me a vast amount of things and instilled a huge amount of morality and ethics and values and principles in me from a really young age, to the point that I think that's part of why they felt happy to send me off to another country from such a young age, right?
Yeah.
It's funny, when I went to boarding school at 11, it didn't feel that young, and now when I see like 11-year-olds and I think of like 11, I'm like, man, that was early.
That's young. Yeah, that's
I was
young.
like, yeah, that
Yeah.
is young. And by the way, all five of us all went to boarding school, and we all went pretty young. So I don't think with that specifically, I don't know in terms of the sort of relentless nature. I think that's in my DNA more than something I was taught. In fact,
Mm.
my parents often tell this story of me, which I have no recollection of when I was 4 years old. And apparently, where I grew up in Saudi Arabia, in the neighborhood, there was like an athletics track. And my dad loves this story of me being 4 years old, and I literally ran around the track until I just collapsed and fell asleep.
That's extreme. Yeah.
Like I just kept going until I literally physically could not go anymore, and I just collapsed, and my dad had to like pick me up and carry me back home, and he's like, "Yep, that's Zuby."
Wow.
He's just like, "Yeah, that's just how you've kind of been." I was the same in school and academics, and whatever I put my mind to, yeah, whatever I put my mind to, like I will do it. I try not to speak in it's funny. I've come across people throughout my lifetime who think that I'm arrogant because of the way I speak so assuredly,
Hmm.
right? So I don't often say, "Oh, I'm going to try to do this," or I'll be like, "Yeah, I will do this thing. Like I will do it, and I will succeed." And people are like, "Ooh, Mr. Confident," like, "Ooh, that's a bit arrogant," or whatever. Especially in the UK, because Americans talk more like that than British people do. In the UK, if you speak with that much assuredness, like people think you're cocky and arrogant or whatever. It's kind of like British culture. You're meant to be very modest. And I'm just not like that. And it's not a delusion. It's just like, look, if it's something that I have control of, like if I'm in control of the outcome, then I can speak with confidence. There are things I can't speak
Hmm.
with confidence because I don't know what the future holds, right? There's so many things in the world that we cannot control. But if it's something that I have the power to do, like I remember, he's probably forgotten about this, or he's going to pretend he's forgotten about it. But I remember when I was 18 years old, when I was in university, and I had a friend named Alex, and I remember helping him like get into the gym, because I started training when I was like 15, and so I was always that like gym guy, and people would all people
Yeah.
to this day still ask me for advice, training, nutrition, whatever it is. So I remember we were 18, and he was like a skinny guy, and he wanted to get training, wanted to get into the gym, so I was showing him the ropes. And he was also one of my flatmates at the time. And I know that we made a bet when we were 18 years old, or 19. We made a bet. He said that by 40, I would be fat and out of shape. And I was like, zero chance. Zero chance. Put money on it. 10 grand, whatever, like whatever. I didn't have 10 grand at the time, but I was like, however much money you want to bet, like
Yeah.
barring a severe accident or illness, there is 0% chance I will be fat and out of shape at 40. Right? Zero. And I can say that because I'm like, dude, that is totally within my control. Like I said, illness, barring illness or accident, that is 100% in my control. So you can bet me $100,000 if you want. You can bet me $1 million. I will win that bet and I will take your money. Like, don't make that bet with me because, like, you know. So I actually, I'm gonna have to remind him about that because I'm only.
You should.
That's 2026. 2026, I'll be hitting 40, and the six pack is still pretty tight. So. So I need to remind him that I'm going to be coming to collect. But yeah, man, I know, like, I genuinely think, like, if there's a message for people, and I know this is going to be easier for some people than to others, but like you said, it's commitment and being relentless. I do just think, I don't know if it's just where we are in society and culture. Some of it is just human nature, but I'm of the belief that people give up way too easily just in general, like in everything. I think that's true of relationships, certainly of marriage, even though I know I'm not married yet, but I think it's certainly true of marriages. I think it's true of people trying to get in shape. I think it's true of diets. I think it's true of people's work efforts or working on a business or starting a podcast or a YouTube channel. Most people just give up way too easily. And that's often the source of failure, right? It's not because they lack the ability or they totally sucked at the thing or whatever. In many cases, it's not. It's just like, man, you didn't even give yourself the chance to succeed. Right? You did. If you start a podcast and you quit after the 4th episode, like I said, most people don't even get to the 5th episode. Like you didn't even give yourself a chance. Like to me, that's crazy. I'm like, well, you go to the gym 3 times. And then you're like, oh, like it's like 3 times? Like, I don't know how many thousands of times I've been at the gym, but like, what is 3 workouts going to do? It's not going to do anything. 1 healthy meal, it's better than 0 healthy meals, I guess, but like eating right 1 time is not going to move the needle. It's just not going to do anything. So yeah, man, people just need to decide and commit and succeed.
I think we live in a time where, and I know you've talked about this in the past, the immediate gratification that people seek now. And if that's not readily available, then things become quote unquote too hard. You know, you mentioned things. I mean, I've been in fitness for 30 years myself. I started working out when I was 17 and
Awesome.
I was an overweight kid. And to me, the fitness aspect is my boys and all my boys love to work out too, especially my older ones.
Love it.
And we call it's the lowest hanging fruit for self-improvement because it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. You know, it's I think the way you look aesthetically is a pretty good indication of, you know, the work you're going to probably put into other areas of your life. And I'm not saying that you have to be a dad with a 6-pack and that kind of thing. However, I think we have a responsibility to, number one, take care of ourselves, right? It's one of the most selfless things that we can actually do because otherwise I don't think we can give our full self to other people. But I also think it sends a message of, you know, that relentless pursuit of improvement, you know, to be better than we were yesterday, right? You know, your messages are extremely positive. Early on, about 15 minutes ago, you started to speak a little bit about, you know, your mission, your purpose. If we were to fast forward your life 10 years from now, and you're looking back and you're like, you know what? I relentlessly went after my purpose and I truly just wanted to inspire people to think about this or to do this or to do that. What would you be telling me that you would be remembering that you did, said, and you want to inspire people to do?
Wow. Well, when I was 18 years old, I set a goal that I want to positively impact and inspire over 1 million people before I die in some tangible way. I've done that now. So my current goal is 10 million. Maybe I've done that, but I don't know yet, right? Like I want it to be, I want it to be by any metrics that I can use. I want it to be like very clear and obvious that I've reached that target. And then after I do that, goal is going to be 100. I 10x it every time. So that mission it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. The fundamental message and messages have not changed. I, I'll tell you what, Larry. I mean, I'm very, very blessed in that I can honestly say that I'm already doing essentially everything that I want to be doing. The next big chapter of my life, when you talk about the next decade, is certainly going to be starting to create my own family. Right? I'm on the Dad Edge podcast, but like that's like the next obvious big whole brand new chapter of my life. When it comes to my career and my purpose and my mission and getting that up to a certain level, I'm on that. I had goals to become, my first goal when I quit my job and I went full time with my music. My first goal was like, all right, I need to be able to keep myself afloat just through my creative talents. I reached that goal. Then my next goal was to be, okay, I want to be financially independent and comfortable. That one I'd say I reached that in 2020, right? I'd say that one took like 8-9 years of hard grind to get to a point where I was like, all right, I feel financially independent. My next goal was I want to become location independent. I want to be able to travel and work and live and be where I want to be. And I reached that goal not so long after. And man, I'm just having a little think. Yeah, man. The next thing is just, like I said, it's my next big target is my target is the family. That sounds weird. My next big goal in chapter is really around that. And in terms of impacting people, look, when I say I want to positively impact and inspire people, what I mean is I want more people to be healthy and successful in every aspect. I want people to be more physically healthy. It's why I've written 2 books on health and fitness, right? Whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, I want more people. The USA is scheduled to hit a 50% obesity rate within the next 8 years. The UK is not far behind. The entire developing, like people are in bad shape. I'm sure you see the mental health statistics. Anxiety going up, depression going up, suicidal ideation going up, self-harm amongst teens going, like all of this stuff. As someone who genuinely loves and believes in humanity, it concerns me. I'm just like, guys, like what is happening? Like what are we doing here? Right? What are we doing to the future generations? Even though I'm not a parent yet, I mean, keep in mind, I have got 10 nieces and nephews, so I've already got like a real stake in the future. But I think any healthy man or woman, like you care about the future of humanity. You care about the future generations, even if you don't yet have your own children. And so I just want to nudge the world. Like I said, I just want to nudge the world in that better direction. I want people to be more mentally healthy, physically healthy, spiritually healthy. I'd like more people to be financially healthy. I'd like more people to be doing jobs that they enjoy. If someone is capable of writing a book, I want to encourage them to write that book. If someone wants to start a podcast, I want to nudge them in the direction of, hey, bro, go out there, start the podcast, right? The market's not saturated. Go out there and do it, right? Whatever. So many people just hold themselves back all the time very artificially. People are capable of doing so much more than they realize. And that's something that other people have helped me to unlock. And I would like to help other people to unlock that. Something I've learned and realized, particularly as I've grown in popularity and with my social media profiles, is it's struck me how, when it comes to young men in particular, but also young women to some extent, you're a dad of 4, you can speak about this more than I can. But it struck me that a lot of guys out there, a lot of guys of all different ages, don't receive very much encouragement at all. I'm blessed to come from a very strong family. I have a wonderful father, wonderful mother, wonderful brothers and sisters, lots of friends. But it struck me how lonely and isolated a lot of people are, and how much in this loop and web of negativity they are, and how they, I mean, a lot of guys don't have like close friends, or they don't have siblings and uncles and aunties or parents who like champion them when they were in school. The teachers were not encouraging them. And they get to the stage, they might be in their 20s, they might be in their 30s, they might even be in their 40s. And, they get like 2 words of inspiration or encouragement per year. And it's like, nah, like we need to be out there and talking to people and telling people, hey man, like, you're not in like some corny fake way, but in a very real way. You have potential. You have capacity. You can be doing better. You can be better, right? You can, man, I'll tell you how I view the world. I view the world somewhat as a playground, but I also view the world as like, are you into video games at all? Or have you ever been?
I mean, when I was little, I played
When you were
Nintendo.
young. Okay.
But I haven't played, and I don't really play. I mean, unless it's Madden with my 10-year-old. He loves to play Madden, but that's about it. Yeah.
Well, that's not a bad thing. But look, I think one reason why so many men in particular like video games is because, you especially like role-playing games or adventure games, it's like you start with, your character, you build your character, right? Like you create your character, you're going on adventures and side quests, and you're doing this and you're building up and, increasing your strength and your speed and your charisma and earning credits or money in the game, and you can buy this or whatever. And I'm just like, guys, you can do all this in real life. Like you're the main character, right? Like you're the character, and you can choose your adventure, right? You can choose, oh, cool, I want to travel here. I want to meet this person. I want to talk to this person. I want to take on this challenge and this quest, and I want to level up in this skill and build this experience. And I'm just like, guys, like all that energy people are even putting into gaming. I'm like, yo, guys, like I once had a viral tweet where I said something like, don't be a level 98 warrior, mage, savage in a video game while being a level 3 dork in real life.
I love that, man. Oh my God. I love that. Amazing.
Like become the warrior, become the wizard, become the, like, whatever the thing is. It's like, man, you can do this. You can do this for real. The world is our template, and you can pick the adventure. You pick the adventure. Like, it's like, cool. I want to build my strength. Or you know what? I want to build I want to build this skill, or I want to help this person. I want to teach that person. I want to create this thing. I want to buy that thing. I want to, like, that's very much how I kind of view the world to some degree. It might sound kind of weird to some people, but I almost imagine I'm kind of like this character in this open world, and it's very much just kind of like up to me what I can pursue and who I can interact with and how I can help people. And I'm trying to do my best in the video game of life.
I think we just came up with the title for this show. Don't be a level 98 on your video game and an L3 weenie in real life.
That is true, though.
No, seriously, man. I love that. I really, 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 that spoke to me big time. And I'm not even a gamer.
Yeah.
But, the same approach that someone is like, I'm going to go in and, I'm sitting here thinking of like, we have one game. I think it's called, I don't know. It's like a sniper contract sort of game, like Black Ops or whatever. I don't know. But it's like the attitude that you have, like, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna with this character, and I'm gonna overcome all the bad guys, and it's like this. But yet in life, it's like, oh, I don't really want to go to the gym. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's like if we had that same approach of like, man, I'm gonna play this game, and I'm gonna build this character, and this character, the one that I'm controlling, we're gonna go in here and we're gonna kick ass.
Yep.
And I love that approach, man. I never even thought of that. But how many people out there are playing their video games like that, right? But playing really, really shallow in real life. I love that.
Yeah, man, dude, people are out there clocking up hundreds of hours.
Oh, it's crazy.
In some of these games, hundreds. There's people out there who go 1,000 hours in one game and they're bragging about I'm at this level and I've got this much money in the game. And like in the game, some of these games, you can buy houses, you can get married in the game, you can create a family in the game, right? Like you can live a whole world. That's why I think that's why the tweet went viral, because people who are at least somewhat into gaming, like you've
Yeah.
got these really advanced like RPG games where you can basically live a whole Second Life. I mean, there was a really popular game called Second
Yeah.
Life, and it's just like, why not do that in reality? Like you can
Yeah.
make, I'm not even saying people should be like, money is not everything at all. But if someone is like, hey, I want to become a millionaire and I want to like buy this type of house, or I want to have this type, it's like you can do that in GTA 5, or and it's the same time. That's the thing. It's the same
Yeah.
time, right? So you spending 1,000 hours on a video game, you could have spent 1,000 hours in the real world doing building up those same skills, right? Dude, in some of these games, you can even get jobs. You can get jobs which pay you money. So like you're literally there with your controller doing some job, and it's like, bro, you may as well just go drive Uber. Like do like take that time and like use it. You don't get video game credits, like earn some pounds or some dollars or whatever. There's video
Right.
games where you can go and train, you're training in the game, and it's like, you can actually go to a real gym and you can actually train, and that will increase your strength points, and you can actually increase your speed, and you can go to a library and you can like open some books and you can increase your intelligence, and you can talk to people, and you can go out there in the real world and you can increase your charisma skill, you can increase your, I don't know, like I'm not even I know it's kind of trendy to be anti video game. I'm not anti video game at all, in moderation. But when people are like using that as a substitute for reality, that's when I'm like, okay, guys, I think
It's dangerous.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
dangerous. I think if you're playing 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, um, if you're a professional gamer, okay, I get that. But 99% of people doing that are not professional gamers. So
Hmm.
yeah, man, take that same mentality, like you said, take that same mentality and the tenacity, and just do it in the real world. Oh, one more thought on this. I just had one more thought.
Yeah,
My
man.
my
Let's
brain
hear
is
it.
going crazy on this podcast. Do you remember? I'll tell you the one that was like really fascinating with me. You must. Do you remember when like Guitar Hero was really popular?
Oh
Guitar
yes.
Hero and Rock Band,
I
right?
I was awesome at it, and I can't even play a lick on a regular guitar. So you're proving your point right now.
I was
It's
actually
like
gonna say
if I spent this time actually learning, I'd probably be all right at real guitar.
I'd be
But
pretty good.
these are buttons.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
because some people got so into that game, like hundreds and
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I'm like, bro, like learn to play an actual guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you could start a band, like that same amount of time, you could have learned the real thing, and you could be like gigging or like in the studio recording a song. I don't know, but that's how I see it.
No, you're dead on. Bradley Cooper, Star is Born. I think it only took him 6 months, but he had to. He practiced guitar every day.
Hmm,
He sang every day. He had a coach for both, and within 6 months, that guy was singing those songs in that movie
that's
and
dope.
playing guitar. So it's pretty cool, man. It kind of a quick funny story before we wrap up here. My son, we're not big gamers here. None of my boys really are. We'll play Madden every now and again, but my 16-year-old kind of got into Fortnite for like a minute, and he was getting really, really, excited about the skins. He's like, "Dad, just accomplished this mission. I got this new skin." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "And it's your night to do dishes. You can wear anything you want while you're doing that too." So, but I'll tell you, dude, this has been awesome, man. One more quick question before I let you out of here, because I think I would just love to hear the answer to this one. So, not married yet, no kids yet, but let's think about 25 years from now. And
Okay.
let's just say you have a kid between the age of 18 and 25. And your son or daughter is on a podcast and they're like, "What was so meaningful that your dad taught you about life?" What would your son or daughter say about you and some of the things that were most meaningful for you to teach them?
Hmm. I'll give a couple. I think one would be about the importance of independent and critical thinking.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Thinking for yourself and not doing or believing something just because other people are doing it. I think that would be one. I think one would be related to health, actually. Just the
I agree.
importance of taking care of your body and the importance of habits. That's something I'd very much like to instill in my children. I would obviously like to instill faith in them. Exactly what the lesson is there, I don't know. And then maybe the last one, to give a few, I think the last one would be something to do with their potential and just the importance of number one, that you have potential, that you have. I believe that we all severely underestimate ourselves. As even someone like me, I think that I still underestimate what I'm capable of. And so for them to understand that they have just so much potential, and that there's just because of that, there's always more that you can be, there's always more that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us tap into our potential a lot more than others do. But even if you're doing a lot, even if you've done a lot, even if you've achieved success in various areas, hey, there's still more that you can do. And if you can do that and then help other people to do the same in some way, shape, or form, I also think that that's the path to success. I think if you can help people do that, you're always going to be, your talents and efforts are always going to be of value, because there's an infinite demand for that.
I agree. I love those.
Thank
Love
you.
them. Yeah, those are great. And as far as your new book that you have coming out, when do you expect that to come out?
Yeah, realistically, I think it'll be 2025. I would like to. I've almost finished the second draft. If I were to just put it out totally independently by myself, I could have it out this year. But I think I'm going to go with take a publishing route this time around.
There you go.
I've never done that before, so I'd like it to be this year, but realistically, 2025.
Very good, man. Well, I'd love to have you back when you're ready to launch that book.
No doubt, man.
And hear all about it. I'd love to have you back, man. But this is awesome, man. Thank you so much. For the guys who want to follow you, your music, I know you've got a plethora of things out there. You've got 2 books out there as well. Where is the best place for guys to connect with you, follow you?
Yeah, sure. So on social media, all my handle is the same on everything. It's at Zuby Music. That is ZUBY Music. And you can find links to everything on zubymusic.com. So Zuby Music, just remember that. Type it into anything and you will find me.
Got it. Guys, not to worry. We'll have all the links in the show notes for you. Head on over to thedadedge.com/158 for the show. Again, thedadedge.com/Friday 158 for the show. Again, thedadedge.com/Friday 158. Zuby, this was incredibly inspirational, very positive. I definitely understand why people really resonate with you and your message. And keep doing what you're doing, man. The world needs more. They need more Zubys. They need more dudes out there like you who's doing this stuff. So thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you, Larry. I'm humbled and honored, man. I really appreciate it.